give you a brief, maybe brief review of Manhattan Project Energy Empire. It's a new board game put out by Minion Games that was designed by Luke Laurie and Tom Jolly. And this video is not going to be a rules explanation per se. I think there's some other good videos here that'll help you with that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I think of the game and show you some of the pieces and just give me some of my comments. So I'm going to turn the camera around. We're going to look here at just the set I have set up here. This is kind of just set up as a one-player game with not necessarily all the pieces out there where they normally would be. Like I said, I'm not going to do this as a rules explanation. I have all of the global events kind of laid out over here, some of the pieces. In terms of, worker placement games, if you've played the Manhattan Project, I think this game will be very, very easy for you to pick up. On your turn, at the beginning of the game, you start with, a set number of workers. So I have 3 workers and 2 power. The cool thing about the power tokens is if you're looking at the game in terms of comparing it to the Manhattan Project, you can look at the power tokens as the gray workers, like the government contractors that are like one-time use, because when you pull your workers back, you're going to lose that power, just like you would have lost those gray workers. So on your turn, you can put one of your worker guys out on the board. So you're going to interact with the main board first, and then you're going to interact with your player board or your buildings if you choose to. So out on the main board, we have the green section, which is government. We have the brown or brick colored section, which is industry. And you have the yellow section, which is the commerce section. And you have at least 4, or in some cases 5, options to go out and play a piece. The government market lets you do different things from the industry, from the commerce, and right there, review-wise, I love the options you have. I don't think there's a set, well, this is the first turn, I have to do this. I've played some worker placement games where sometimes I feel like, the first move, I've got to do this certain thing. So, like, for example, in the Manhattan Project, it might not be the right thing to do based on what the market is, but I like to go out and get a guy, if I can. I need an engineer, I need a scientist, or I'll even pay a couple bucks for one of those extra pieces. I will do that. In this game, what you need to try to build up are your dice, okay? And if, just for example, I'm starting out as the United States, I drew them off the top of the deck, I don't have any dice. So the game comes with these really cool power dice. I don't have any of those. And if I want to generate power, I need them. So in order to get a die, I need to either get some plastic and some science, I need to go out and get some metal or steel, that'll get me one of these 2 dice, or I need to get steel and some science. The United States starts with a science token, but it doesn't start with steel. So I might have to go out to the mines to get steel, or maybe buy a building that will later give me steel. I can also go out and get plastic. There is, unfortunately, none of the buildings out here give me plastic. I guess I can trade in science for plastic, but that's one of the really, I think it's just really cool. The engine that you build can be different in every game, and for me, having something different is always good. The way the cards get set up, they're going to be different every game. I think that's great. And I really love, I'll give you a close-up of some of the markets here. In the green market, for example, you can see the costs are either money or science. In industry, the cost is either money or steel. And in commerce, the cost is either money or plastic. The cubes represent plastic, I believe. So there are different ways to get different types of cards. I really think that's cool. The point of the game we'll talk about the point of the game here, is obviously to score victory points. If we're talking about the Manhattan Project, it's all about building bombs, right? It's a race game. We're all racing to 50 points or 60 points or whatever, depending on how many people are playing. In this game, it's not really a race. You're racing against time down here. In this section, I don't have it filled out, but you're going to fill pollution tokens. And as you do certain things, you're going to accumulate pollution. That is the timer mechanism in the game, which I think is really ingenious, that the players dictate how fast the game goes based on what they do. So depending on what your strategy is, there's a number of different ways you can score points. I'll show you some of the buildings. In the upper left hand corner, you see a star. Okay, those are victory points that you can score. Now the rule book tells you score them at the end. When I played with some of my buddies, we just kind of score them right away. I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, as long as you don't score them twice. The other thing you're going to score on is down here on the United Nations track. However far you move your piece along, there's a bonus 3 points for whoever's out in the lead. And it's worth noting that whoever gets to 17 first, that's it. Nobody else can be in 17. Everybody can be in 15. All right? So you'll score points based on where you are on the UN track. You'll also score points based on your player board. So I'll zoom in here to the environment section. So you notice there's 15 pieces of your environment. Right now everything's clean. At the beginning of the game you will start with one piece of pollution up in the upper left. But right now everything's clean. That would be worth 15 points. Plus 1 point for this entire row, 2 points for this entire row, and 3 points for that entire row. So there's a lot of points to be had in your environment. Right next to that, everybody has the ability to get achievements, and some of the achievements can be public as well. Alright, and they just give you specific personal goals. Like for example, this one says every energy token I have at the end of the game, I'm going to get a point for. Now the interesting thing about the interesting thing about the achievements, and it's easy to miss, you're only allowed to have 5 of these, and each one of them max out at 5 points. So if by some chance at the end of the game I had 7 pieces of energy, I'm still only going to receive 5 points. Okay? So I could have all my energy available, but I only score 5 points. That's the maximum there. And I can collect 5 more of those tokens. I love those. I think they're really cool because these ones are open, and if you can see somebody's buying a lot of government buildings, the last game I played, I think I had 6 government buildings. I would have loved to have that achievement come up. It didn't. But if it did, I mean, I think the other players almost have to be aware that, well, this guy can score a lot of points if he gets that tile. We might want to keep it away from it. So there's that strategy. The other way you're going to score points on your player board is by collecting dice. You can collect 5 of them. And I really think this is really cool the way this works. I'm going to move my energy so you can see the distribution of dice. The yellow die is the nuclear die, and that comes with all kinds of power, but it also comes with nuclear pollution. Ooh, scary, right? We have the oil die, so I can trade in an oil drum off to the supply, and I get to roll that, and you can see the distribution of electricity, 3, 2, 1. The hydro and the coal are exactly the same, except the hydro is initially polluting. So when you initially get that die, you take 1 pollution, but every time you roll the coal die, you're going to take pollution. And then the wind or the solar, the green energy, that comes with no pollution, but it doesn't do a lot. It doesn't give you a lot of juice. I think that's cool. I really, really like the strategy of, all right, if I have these dice, give me a blue one right here. If I have these dice, I don't have to roll them all. All right, but if I want a lot of energy, I do. And that die roll right there would result in nuclear pollution. because, and this is another really neat mechanic, there are numbers on each die. Whatever the high number is, that tells you what pollution you take. And that's how the game moves along. We would take pollution from the board, and I would put it somewhere in my environment, and there's ways to clean it up and, you know, get your environment clean by taking actions out here. So whenever you see the green symbol, that's a cleanup. Um, Again, everything seems to just flow together in this game. A little more so for me than the Manhattan Project. I really enjoyed the Manhattan Project as a game, and I still do, don't get me wrong, but I kind of think that the race aspect, everybody trying to do the same thing, I don't know. I like the fact that in this game you can do different things, and you have multiple paths to score victory points. And sometimes it's kind of dumb luck when one of these events come out. You know, on these events you're going to score points based on certain things. If I have a totally clean ocean, I might score a lot of points, and we clear out some of the buildings. Maybe there were buildings I wasn't looking at, maybe buildings I didn't like, so we flush them out and gives people an opportunity to buy new ones. I really think that's a really cool mechanic. The other thing that I think a lot of people are going to talk about, they're going to marvel at, is just the quality of these bits. I'm a bit guy. I like things like this. This makes me happy in a board game. And the oil, especially. These oil barrels are just something else. I mean, listen to this. They are heavy in terms of, you know, bit pieces. They are definitely cool. I think everything else is just standard Manhattan Project quality. I mean, the achievements are solid cardboard. The workers are like double cardboard. I mean, everything you've come to expect from Minion Games is Manhattan Project line. It's there with this, I think. The other thing, it's got a solo option. I have not tried the solo option, so I can't tell you if it's good or bad. The option though is there, so people who do solo gaming, that's really cool. The other thing, I mean, just look, the art, if you're into artwork on a game, the art is, I don't know, borderline spectacular. I mean, it's really, really cool, I think. Let me go back on me now for a little bit to end this. I've played this game now 4 times. I'm sorry, 4 times. And I love it. I really think it's a cool game. I know the Kickstarter just shipped. So if you were one of the guys that got the Kickstarter with the designer signature, you might just be getting yours. I didn't. I just said, you know, send me the game. I got it last Friday. I played it, like I said, 3 or 4 times within that week. I can't wait to play it again. I played it with 2 and with 3. I'd love to play it with more, because the time doesn't change. And that's one thing I've seen online. People are saying that, you know, my first game took 3 or 4 hours. It might. I mean, there's a lot of different spaces on the board. People might be prone to analysis paralysis. My first gameplay, I looked at the board and I thought, what do I do? I have no idea what the smart play is. And to me, that makes it a good game for me, if there's no obvious play. You know, I like the fact that there's so many different countries that you can play. You start out as India, Iraq, the United States, Great Britain, Canada. There's so many of them out there. And from what the designers were saying, you know, there's options for expansions. There's options for global event expansions, which I think they just make the game different every time. Right now the game comes with, let me look down, I see 9 green and 6 red. So you're playing with 3 green and 3 red every game. So the likelihood you're probably going to see some repeat events as you play multiple times, but the odds that they come out the same exact order, you know, you're probably not going to see that. I look at this game as a solid 8.5 on the BGG 10-point scale, with the ability to go up for me. I can honestly see this being a 9-ish game right now. So if you haven't gotten a chance to play Energy Empire yet, and either you've ordered it or one of your friends has, If you like the Manhattan Project, go out and play this. Seriously. If you like worker placement games, go out and play this. If you like games with variant ways to score points, go out and play this. Okay? If you don't like those kind of games, give it a shot, because you never know. Maybe you do like this game. Maybe this brings you into that genre. Right? Energy Empire by Minion Games. Really cool stuff. Thanks for watching.